Welcome to the family with
Mike Gelfand.
And Cassie Schrader sitting in for Andy Bernard.
no Alex, no Catherine, no Andy. My whole family has abandoned me. It's just how life is.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, it happens. But hey, three's company here.
I know what it's like. All my kids moved out of the house and they're spread out now. Bloomington, St. Paul, Minneapolis. It's like, I don't know what I did for that. I mean, it's like they would move to another city, but they know I would move with them.
Oh, would you? If your kids moved to another city, would you move to that city?
If all three kids say, let's say they move to Springfield, Ohio, I would move with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah, if both my children moved to another town, happen to be in the same area,
yeah,
I probably would move to that area as well. You got to be. I love being around the kids, and the grandkids they're another phenomenal blessing.
Yes, they are.
They're just, I don't know. It's just a good time. That's all I have to say. It's, what are you going to do?
It gives you a little hope for the future too.
Well, see, that's the whole deal because they're not arguing politics and everybody under 10 are the only people left that aren't arguing about politics. So, Jesus. I have never been that dedicated to a political party in my life that I would get upset because you didn't agree with me. Who cares?
Well, those politicians work pretty hard to make sure we hate each other.
They certainly do, and so does the national media. They just love us to hate one another.
I know. I feel like we're in some weird social experiment. I honestly feel that way, that they're like purposely doing this to see what we would do. I don't know. It's becoming chaos.
No, it's about fundraising.
Well, it's always about money, Mike.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's always about money. This has nothing to do with anything other than them making. I just love how I'm a politician who became a billionaire. How the hell did you do that?
Right?
Jesus.
Yeah, it's like overnight.
Yeah, I know. It's unbelievable. But we've gotten to the point, by the way, have you noticed as this whole thing goes on, these two are these people running for president. It's like Trump has developed a really great impersonation of himself. Have you noticed that? Like everybody does an impression of him, so now he's doing an impression of himself
right?
too.
Yeah, I like the way he just in the middle of something he blurts out. Now, neither of them will answer a question.
No,
it's not going to happen. But with Trump, it's like he pauses, considers the question, and says, "They're eating cats."
They're eating. Are you still saying they're eating cats?
Oh yeah.
I know. It almost sounded like he had Tourette's there for a moment. I was like, what is he talking about?
They get all whipped up. And then, of course, you got the other side where she says things like, the children of the community are children of the community. What?
Yeah, I know. Okay.
These is what we got. We got these two. That's what we got. Huh?
Was her mic on echo or something?
Speaking of the community.
Yeah.
Again, just settle down with everybody. There was a big story in the Minnesota Star Tribune, and it's not the Minneapolis Star Tribune anymore. It's Minnesota.
No, because they've reached out.
They've reached out. That's exactly right. Not to me or you, but everybody else.
No, they've reached out against me.
And me too, Pally. Yeah. They haven't loved me for about 40 years now. So it's one of those deals. But, you keep moving forward and, you go, I should probably care about that, but I don't.
Yeah.
Isn't that the only way to handle it? So who cares? I don't care to give a rat's ass about any of that stuff.
Well, you got to be very selective.
Yeah.
Pick a thing, pick some sort of controversy if you want to, but don't, once you hit QAnon, once you hit that site, you can't be reclaimed.
Now, what is that again? QAnon? Well, I've never spent a lot of time researching what QAnon even is. What is it?
Well, it started out, I think, as a merchandise site.
Oh, it did?
But quickly they found out that the way to get people to click was just to spread all the worst lies. And, like they're the ones who really spread the Pizzagate stuff.
Oh, Pizzagate. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Actually, I watched the documentary.
Oh, there's a QAnon documentary?
Yeah, I'll have to look it up. But really basically what it was is it started off as this chat board with 4chan. And then you had it's just kind of a chat, kind of like Chatsy, what you have for the show here. Mm-hmm. It just kind of grew into like this movement of QAnon. And it was almost like it was this guy kind of driving the force, and he was the one that was posted. He was Q. He was QAnon.
Oh,
And
he was Q?
It was a person that would go on
No.
all these sites.
Oh, so anonymously.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He
That's
would go on
QAnon.
these sites and he would and it was almost like he was getting the information before the world was getting the information, which was really weird.
Getting it from God?
I don't know. It was like everyone's like, who is Q? Everyone, who is Q? I mean, it's not a Star Trek series, but
Yeah.
you know, so everyone was trying to figure it out. So they thought he was like an inside guy. A lot of people thought it was who was Trump's campaign director that during that I can't remember, but they thought it was somebody tied with his campaign.
Oh, okay.
And they were the ones that kind of were throwing the gas on the fire that led up to January 6th at the Capitol.
Yeah, a lot of politicians are obviously into Q now too.
Yeah,
it's almost become mainstream. It's well, and they would spread things like, remember when it wasn't a big crowd, maybe 100 people or a few more, went to the site of JFK's assassination.
Oh yeah,
and they sat there because QAnon, I think it was QAnon that first spread this thing. They went there because they thought that JFK would be resurrected. He was going to show up.
When they were there.
They probably thought he had never actually been killed, right?
Oh, it was a lie.
It was just a lie. Okay. So there they were, and there's video. You can go online and see it of these people mingling around Dealey Plaza, right?
Yeah,
and they're waiting for JFK to show up.
How do they believe something like that?
Well, I mean, it kind of, at that extreme, you got to think it's some kind of mental illness.
Well, that's what I was thinking. You got to be nuts.
Yeah, I got the documentary name. It's called Q, Into the Storm, and you can stream it on HBO or Max.
Yeah, I've seen parts of it. Yeah.
Oh my God, Tom, you need to watch it. Talk about a roller coaster of what the heck is going on. And the people that were behind this movement, you're going to be like, really? It was these people behind the movement?
So are they not around anymore? Is QAnon?
Oh, it's still a thing.
It's still there.
No. But I think QAnon has been outed on who he was. But I don't want to spoil the because it's kind of in the documentary. And I don't want to spoil.
So I would know who this person is.
No.
Oh, I wouldn't know who.
I don't know. No. But yeah, it's a crazy documentary. It was well done. So if people need to know, learn up on what QAnon is, just watch Q, Into the Storm, HBO Max. It explains everything, and you'd be shocked at, yeah. It was like, I was like, what in the?
Well, I found out yesterday on the morning show that the guy that had the rifles and all that stuff at the Trump golf course has a horse living in his house.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
What? You have a horse living in your house.
I want to know. Was his name Mr. Ed? I have a feeling he named him Mr. Ed.
I can't do that because I think it would scare my cat.
Oh yeah, yeah, it might. It might. Why? I mean, horses don't have a great odor anyway, do they?
No.
Well, they tend to shit all over.
They kind of do.
That's why a racehorse needs like 2 grooms, totally for the job of cleaning up the poop. Yeah. And this guy, though, he was an interesting guy. Now there was a rumor that when they found him at the golf course and started and shot at him and then dragged him away, he said, "Can I have a mulligan?"
Yeah, I would like a mulligan. We're on the golf course,
right.
So no, I could see him saying something like that. I just, what causes a person to get that far down the road?
Well, lately, the shooters tend to be people who just want to be famous or just basically just want proof that they're alive.
Okay.
So it's not so much that they, like you always used to be, you'd always look for the manifesto, right?
The manifesto was very big.
These are not manifesto guys.
No, they're not. What was that guy's name again? The guy who lived in the cabin out in Montana.
Oh, Ted, what was his name? Wasn't it Ted something?
Which cabin out in Montana?
Oh, the guy who
sent the letters to people with the poison in them.
Yeah.
And had a Polish name, was it?
The guy
Ted Kaczynski.
That's it, Ted Kaczynski.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was Ted Kaczynski. Yeah. Yep. There you go. So he's dead now, though, right? Didn't he die in prison?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
I watched a documentary on him, yeah, and they had, I think his brother was in the interview.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, I
that must
believe.
have been fun.
Yeah, I think he yeah, passed away in prison. I just watched another documentary on HBO Max called Born Evil.
About Gelfand?
No, it's called Born Evil because with my true crime podcast, I'm constantly
Right.
looking for good content.
Sure.
And I watched this documentary called Born Evil. It was called Serial Killer and the Savior.
Oh, well,
Tom, you need to watch it.
really?
This is the most obscure crimes with mental illness at the forefront. A sociopath that should never have seen the light of day since he was born. He was born evil, and when he went to prison, his cellmate, with this guy's delusions and stuff, he thought his cellmate was Jesus.
Oh,
So
now, how old was he at this time?
I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
He was I think he was in his 30s or something. But
okay.
what happened was the guy thought he was Jesus. So he started confessing all of the stuff to Jesus in his cell. And
Okay.
he's like, I can't take this anymore. And he's like, you just need to write all this down and I'll read it. And he goes, and he's like, I would beat this guy up just to see if he would go away from me. And he's like, oh, please don't. He goes, well, I guess I'm beating the devil out of you. That's what he would tell him. Because he's like, but his cellmate, he did the right thing and he took all this stuff to the authorities. And a lot of these families with missing family members got justice because they did recover. They did find the bodies. And this guy, he would draw these cartoony pictures in the cell. And they were his cellmates looking at him. He's like, he's drawing the crime scenes of his murder scenes.
Oh, yeah.
So they use that information to help find these bodies as well. It's crazy. Great documentary. Nuts, but really good.
Those crime stories and all that stuff. Have you guys been around crime at all in your own lives? I mean, some serious crime and all that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I had not probably what you entitled to when living in North Minneapolis. But I did grow up, drugs and guns and gangs because I grew up in Bloomington.
Oh,
and by the time I started,
Bloomington, obviously, we're talking about East Bloomington, right?
Yes, I went to Kennedy High School.
Oh, yes.
Graduated from there, same high school as Ken Herbeck.
I
believe, yeah, he
Kennedy.
He graduated from Kennedy.
Yep.
But I did. It was like I was getting a little taste of what North Minneapolis was because a lot of North Minneapolis fed into Richfield and Richfield into Bloomington. So it was kind of the crime was kind of coming out, spreading out like a web. And they started taking Minneapolis kids and putting them into Bloomington schools. So they were.
Sure.
There goes the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So
blow it up.
It happened. I mean, and that crime started coming more south. And so I did have my fair share of some crime, but not as much as what you experienced growing up.
I mean, you were just talking about something. There was a family lived on 26th Avenue North. This would have been about, I don't know. It's a very famous story, actually. It's 1958, 1959, something like that. The three boys in the family, I think they were like 6, 8, and 10. And they told their mom, apparently somebody was coming over to the house. They told their mom, well, we're going to go over to Farview Park and play for a while. And she said, well, make sure you get back home. They went to the park and were never seen again. All three of them disappeared. And the amazing thing about that is, I don't know how many years, like 40, 50 years later, the mom was still living in that house waiting for those kids to come home.
Wow.
It's heartbreaking.
I mean, that
That's
stuff
tough.
just, oh my God. That's a very famous story, actually. I think it was about 58 or 59 because I was not very old when it happened.
I'll have to look it up because that might be a good episode.
Oh, God, yeah. Why don't you look it up now and see? It's Farview Park in North Minneapolis, which is at Lindale and 26th. and 3 boys disappeared and were never. They to this day that nobody has an idea where they went.
So they were very close to the World Street kitchen.
The World Street kitchen was
It's right there up the block.
well, that's kind of right, almost on the river, isn't it?
It's wait a minute. Well, of course there's North Lindale
Yeah.
and South Lindale.
Yes.
So I'm
Oh.
talking about South.
Oh, you're talking. Yeah. Okay.
I'm only saying that because I had the greatest burrito I ever had the other day.
Oh, here we go. It's
Yep.
all about his
I got
joy.
World Street Kitchen. Yeah.
World Street Kitchen.
Yeah, it's at it's like right between 27th and 28th Street on South Lindale.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and I'm not even a burrito guy, and
not a
I have
burrito
no
guy.
connection to the restaurant.
Oh, I understand.
It's just a little hole in the wall, but it's just incredible.
Oh, I like it.
I recommend it.
I found this story, but it's on the Star Tribune. And I'm not subscribed, so I can only get a little taste of the article. But it was the Gordon Klein's 3 younger brothers
Yep.
went to Farview Park.
Mm.
Gordon, age 9, first wanted to fix his knife sheath. Oh, yeah, I can't read the article, but it's a new book revisits the 6-year-old case of 3 missing Minneapolis boys.
60-year-old case.
So 68.
60. Yeah, so that would be about right. Yeah, that'd
Okay,
be about right.
I'm going to look up
That
this
was like
author.
1957.
I'll look up this author, yeah, and I'll get it booked on my show. That would be a very interesting
seriously, it's so sad. And the mother's long dead now. I don't know how long ago she died, but to see that woman sitting in that same house waiting for them to come home. Oh God,
is
it tears your.
heartbreaking.
Oh man.
thing. Being a parent, I can't imagine. I don't know if it'd be worse not knowing or knowing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly.
But I
Yeah.
think not knowing, I don't know if that would give me more hope or
Maybe.
I don't
It
know.
seems
It's-
like a lot of people in that situation are relieved when they find out what happened.
Well,
Yeah.
like people up in St. Joseph, Minnesota.
Yeah.
They finally found out what actually happened.
Oh,
Yeah.
Patty Wetterling.
Patty Wetterling, just a sweetheart of a person.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, we
and-
just had her in studio here about a year ago, maybe
Mhm.
not even that long. What a nice person.
How's she doing?
She's sweet as hell, but you can just tell by looking her in the eye that damage is there, man.
Well,
Mhm.
of course.
People do get that look in their eye when they've had suffered that kind of pain, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I've never been arrested. I've never been in jail. Well, I've been in jails to visit people. I brought that up earlier today.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've been in jail, but it was only to visit other people.
Yeah.
So-
I've been in jail to interview people.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. How'd that go?
The interview was fine. The one I remember was fine. But the thing is, you get a taste of it. Like I was down by the high security block.
Yeah.
And what do they call it? I can't remember. But anyway, it was
A block.
But I think I could last about maybe 72 hours
Yeah.
as an inmate there. We had to shout over the people who were there was something spiritual going on, and there was a lot of drum beating,
Oh
and
God.
apparently it goes on every day for hours.
Yeah, that'd be a thrill, wouldn't it?
That'd
That'd be a lot
it
of
would
fun.
be like being trapped in an elevator with Buffy St. Marie.
Buffy St. Marie. There's a name I haven't heard in
I
a
know.
while. Holy
I don't know
hell.
where it
Talk
came
about
from
going
either.
deep.
Buffy St.
Sometimes it just don't you.
Was that Magic is Afoot, God is Alive? That was Buffy St. Marie, wasn't it?
It sounds right.
Magic is afoot.
Isn't that,
God is
isn't,
alive.
that, isn't that terrible? Some days, just some name right
Oh,
out of
yeah.
the past just goes boom. I had this actually forced on me the other day. A friend of mine sent me a link from a IMDb page, and it was a page. It was dedicated to the one of the greatest kid shows of all time on Nickelodeon called "What Would You Do?" Right?
What would you do? Yeah.
And there I was in print. I was listed as a writer, so I made it to that page, and next to it it said, "Known for What Would You Do?"
That you were known for What Would You Do?
Yeah, that's well, they had they list your name and then they tell people a little bit about them.
Okay.
So that was like saying Mike Gelfand is known for being Mike Gelfand.
well, you are.
But I started thinking about the show, and it was 30 years ago. that I was down there at Universal Studios in Orlando
Mm-hmm.
as a writer slash producer slash talent. Although I only got paid for doing the writing. Damn it. That's what happens when you work with Bo. You know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And
Showbiz.
yeah. And started thinking about Mark. You remember when we had Mark on the show?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Mark said to me before we went on the air, he said, "You're not going to say anything bad about me, are you?"
No, but Tom is.
and I didn't say anything bad. And then when he hung up, I said something like, "What a dick."
Well, he had it coming, you know.
Well, Mark's had an interesting life. I mean,
I always liked him.
The two of us actually had a lot in common, but
Yeah.
he was so insecure. I think he thought I was going to take over this show from him or something.
Yeah, people are like that.
And that just shows you he's a little bit delusional. But he does suffer from OCD.
Mm-hmm.
And he just doesn't, at the time at least you could tell, he just didn't trust anybody. And I did all these little bits on the show we did some funny field stuff. And they liked having me. The producers liked having me do it because they didn't have to pay me for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But Mark got very mad about the whole thing.
Why?
Well, he went to the executive producer one day. That wasn't Bull. And he said, we just can't have Mike on the show anymore. And the guy said, well, he's doing a great job. Why? And he said, he's too old. And
you're too old.
And the guy
okay.
and the guy said, well, Mark, he's like 1 year older than you. And Mark said, yeah, but he looks older. And then the guy said to him, well, Mark, you're wearing makeup. He isn't. So I think he took umbrage at that.
Whoops.
And obviously that was no threat to him, but he just felt that way. So I had heard this, and then when we were finished up, we taped all 26 episodes. It was the 1993 What Would You Do? Widely heralded, by the way, by nobody.
ABC still has that title,
Yeah, that's right. They used it on another show.
Yep.
Yeah, but this was the real What Would You Do?
Yes.
This was the pie What Would You Do? Where all the kids, they got pied on the show. That was the trademark.
Okay.
So we finished up the show. I'm getting ready to leave and come back home, and Mark is standing by the elevator. He's going to go up to the third floor and talk to the real big shots at Universal Studios.
Oh, okay.
I'm not allowed at that third floor. And I said, hey, Mark. I said, hey, when you get back down, I wonder if you could just tell me if it's true. He said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, it's you meet the same people on the way down as you do on the way up. So I think I got the parting shot. He looked at me, and I could sort of see after maybe 2 or 3 beats that he kind of figured out where I was going with that.
So I didn't know you guys had that harsh breakup.
Oh.
Well, it just wasn't very good. And here's what happened. The only thing that really pissed me off ever was, he really got to hate me because
I didn't know that.
In his mind, I was a threat. And so one day when his rage was really building, I would write the stupid little intros to a segment, right? And it was nothing. I mean, Mark could have just made it up himself, and it would have been better because it was his show. But he was going to show me who was boss.
Oh God!
So he doesn't like the intro, so he starts out by squinting at the teleprompter, and then as he reads it, he's like, he's looking, he's squinting into the camera now. Our next guest is someone, and he was like, I thought he went a little too far.
He did that on the show?
On the air, yeah.
Why?
Because he hated me.
I never knew he hated you. I thought you guys were really good friends.
He had a fixation. Well, we should have been. I mean, look, he's a nice Jewish boy. Berkowitz was his name.
Okay.
And he changed it to something very similar, Summers.
What?
Yeah, he changed his name from Berkowitz to Summers.
Is Berkowitz a holiday or?
Berkowitz was his family name.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And he grew up, and this would not be that easy. He grew up in Indianapolis, Now, Indianapolis is like 1% Jewish.
Oh yeah, there's not a lot of Jews in Indianapolis.
Used to be the home of the KKK. And
Oh,
it
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, back in the 20s, yeah.
Oh,
And then after that, of course, the John Birch Society moved, and they started out in Indianapolis. So this couldn't have been a great way to grow up.
no.
No. And then he came out, not as a sexual thing. He came out as having OCD. I don't know how old he was, but his parents were still alive. And as he told it, they never spoke to him again
His parents never spoke to him again.
because he came out as having OCD. So we both had OCD. Nice Jewish boys.
Well,
Yeah. We
Yeah.
should have been pals.
I don't really understand that at all, why his parents would turn on him.
I don't either.
Maybe that's why he turned on you, because he'd been turned on by his own parents.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, it might have something to do with it.
Excuse me.
You going to be all right over there?
Well, I was just sipping on some water.
Oh, I thought you were coughing up the truth.
I think I just put a little too much vodka in.
Yeah, it might be the problem. Okay, I want to ask you guys a question.
Mm.
All right, I got to tell. I already told this on the morning show too, but you keep talking about OCD and all the rest of it.
Mhm.
So I'm talking to his friend. He's a nice Italian Catholic boy. Let me put it that way, with a nice Italian Catholic family. This is a while ago,
Mhm.
but he goes, "Hey Tommy, I got a problem." I said, "What's the problem?" He goes, "I'm not say the other guy's name was Billy. It wasn't, but I'm going to say it was Billy." He goes, "Yeah, Billy and I were going to go out and have some dinner tonight, and I'm not all comfortable with it because he invited his younger brother." I said, "Oh, why? What's that all about?" He goes,
Mhm.
"Well, I don't want his brother coming." And I said, "Why don't you want his brother coming?" He goes, "See, then I find out, just looking back in my own memory, that his younger brother had a few problems,
Mm.
you know. And so I said, "Well, why do you care if he's coming or not?" And he goes, I think there's something wrong with that kid. I mean, Tommy, I think he's artistic.
Artistic.
Autistic, artistic. What the hell's the difference?
Well, usually autistic people are very artistic.
Well, that could be. I mean, maybe he did
Could
cover
be,
the whole
yeah.
thing. But a question I want to ask you guys: do you think, because we're thinking about getting a pool up,
Mhm.
kicking in like $10 a piece or something, how long do you think P Diddy will live in jail?
Ooh.
72 hours, I'd say.
I would say 72 hours. I don't think he's going to make it out of that jailhouse.
I know one thing: he should never go into the laundry room.
No, yeah, that's a good idea.
That's why they were always killed with a homemade shiv in the laundry
In the
room.
laundry room.
Or in the weight room. You get busted upside the head like Dahmer did. But
Well, it could be.
Yeah,
Well,
he
the
did
thing
indeed.
about, of course, the laundry room is there's a lot of noise going on.
Yeah.
yeah, the dryer.
That's why I avoid laundry rooms at all costs.
Or washing your clothes ever.
Well, that would
Yeah,
help.
a
Yes.
whole different deal.
For me, it would be like every 2 days I wash my clothes, but
I do too. I do. Are we artistic?
I must be.
Yeah.
But I hate having dirty clothes laying around. I do not
yeah,
like it.
Yeah, I know some people will wear a pair of socks 2 days in a row.
Yeah,
I just can't do it.
not happening with you.
And I should be able to.
I understand.
Yeah, I can't. Socks and shirts and underwear have to be changed daily.
Yeah,
For
I
me.
think so. Yeah.
I'll wear pants a couple times, because pants, it's not a big deal,
When I-
especially jeans.
When I turned 40, I did 2 things. One was I went to White Castle with my kids,
Oh, I love white cat.
and I had one slider, the last one I've ever had, because I knew my stomach couldn't take it. But I just as a
Oh.
ceremony,
Yeah, sure.
The other thing I did was I went home and I threw out all my socks that had holes in them.
Then why?
I just figured, I was doing okay. I was making a living,
Oh, okay.
and I felt like I could go out and spend maybe $6, $7 on a few pair of socks.
I love the fact that the socks now come in like bundles of 3.
I know you can't just buy a pair.
No, you got to buy
No.
a 3 pair.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know.
I bought a pack of, I think, 10.
Oh yeah.
It was like $7.
Yep.
And, they were just like white sweat socks.
Okay, I got to read a headline. I have no idea what the story's about, but it's close to where I grew up, so I want to read it.
Okay.
Robbinsdale grapples with renaming park tainted with racist legacy. And I'm trying to think of where the hell that would be in Robbinsdale.
Mm.
And I suppose, when I read the story, I'll recognize the name of the park and all the rest of it. But I got to click on this because racist legacy in a park in Robbinsdale. Oh, Philando Castile. Yeah,
No.
there you
Oh,
go.
there it is.
A push to name the park after Philando Castile narrowly failed Tuesday night after a public hearing, but it remains possible. So I guess I better find out. After an evening full of passionate statements from community members, Robbinsdale city leaders this week failed to agree on a new name for Sanborn Park, which is named after a family that tarnished local properties with racial covenants. How did one family tarnish an entire local area with racial covenants?
More to the point, how did he get a park named after him?
Yeah, and then how did he get a park named after
Right.
I
him?
don't get that one.
A push from activists to rename the park after Philando Castile was narrowly defeated by the city council, but appears to remain a possibility as the city decides what to do next. Castile, a black man killed by police during a traffic stop in Falcon Heights, he was once a resident of Robbinsdale. I didn't know that. Valerie Castile, Castile's mother, who said she formerly lived in Robbinsdale, spoke at a public hearing on Tuesday. So we'll see if that happens. Several members of the Robbinsdale Human Rights Commission, who helped draft the city's renaming policy and co-signed the application for Castile Park, spoke about Castile's legacy of helping school children get access to meals, which is very, very nice.
Mhm.
I want to get back to the other guy. Oh, here we go. The Sanborn racial covenants.
Okay, let's.
So what would you say is a racial covenant? Don't come near me if your skin's a different color.
That would suffice.
But how's that race? How is that religious?
I don't know. It seems like it always is at some point.
There must be. The Sanborn family, which owned much of the land throughout Robbinsdale in the early 1900s, placed racial covenants on their real estate, prohibiting any person or persons of Chinese, Japanese, Moorish, Turkish, Negro, Mongolian, or African blood or descent from leasing or mortgaging their properties, according to mapping prejudice. Get it? Mapping prejudice.
Sure.
Oh my God.
We used the double entendre there.
The thing I don't really understand is why the Chinese.
Yeah, I know. No Chinese can move in. Japanese, Moorish. How many Moorish people are in Minnesota?
Well, it's hard to say because they're all hiding.
Yeah, they're all high. They're
Those
being
Moors,
Moorish. Yes, it's true.
It's sneaky.
There's a University of Minnesota database of racial covenants in the Twin Cities metro. Racial covenants were used to segregate the metro during the early to mid 1900s, and the effects are still visible. In 1949, the U.S. Supreme Court declared racial covenants unconstitutional, and Minnesota outlawed them in 1953. So then why did they build the freeway the way they did, blocking North Minneapolis out from the rest of the city?
It was the same mentality. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
kind of was.
when
Well, it's okay. It's government doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, my mother grew up in the ghetto, which is
Yep.
what North Minneapolis was. It was
Yep.
a ghetto for Jews at the time.
The Jews, blacks, and Catholics.
Yeah, but it was mostly Jews who lived there.
West of Penn.
West of Penn. That's a good point. Yeah, 8th and Newton was where my mother and my grandmother lived, and they. So there was redlining that did the job. You just couldn't get a mortgage if you were black.
Yeah.
Anywhere except in the ghetto. And then there were various reasons why that fell apart. And one of the big reasons, of course, was that there was a terrible housing shortage in those days
Mhm.
because the soldiers were coming back from the war. And that's how Highland Park and St. Louis
Oh,
Park
sure.
became havens for Jews because they could move to those places because there were a lot of houses being built, and the construction, the owners who were putting up those houses, they were happy to have Jews buy those houses, because basically we Jews are very clean. Let's face it.
No, it's
We
unbelievable.
take good care of those houses.
Yes.
So the Jews, like all the soldiers, were able to buy houses because that when they came back, they had the GI Bill and they were able to do that.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
And so that's how we wound up. But until then, no, Jews, blacks, they couldn't. There's no way that they could buy a house. Like I think the first Jewish family came to Edina, was able to buy a house in Edina, like in the 1980s.
You might be right about that.
Could be the
Yeah.
70s, but I mean that went on for a long time.
Mhm.
One thing I would say, though, that Jewish neighborhood over on the western half of North Minneapolis, some of those houses are beautiful.
Well,
beautiful
my
houses.
my grandmother's house on 8th and Newton is still there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and looks really good.
Yeah, none of the 43 houses I lived on, I don't think they exist. Well, there are a few of them that still exist, but most of them have been torn down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Weren't the nicest places, that anybody'd want to buy, so they might have something to do with it. But yeah, see, I never knew the history of Robbinsdale. I had no idea that there were a bunch of racist covenants. But that was 1900, so I suppose that had been going on 60, 70 years earlier.
That wasn't so long after the Chinese Exclusion Act.
Yeah, oh, that's right.
That must have been about 1885 or something when that was passed. It was right around there.
That's about right.
And I mean, I remember reading somewhere about, the Supreme Court said, nah, you can't really do that. And but I remember there was a dissenting brief by one of the Supreme Court justices who said that the reason they should have it is because it's pretty clear that the Chinese people will never assimilate into our culture.
That was their thinking.
Yeah, well, that was the thinking of this one guy.
Well, but did he base that on the fact that, from what I've never been to China, I've never been to Japan, all these places, but I know the Japanese in particular, if you don't assimilate, they don't want you around.
Yeah.
And I still think assimilating toward one another is a really good idea. You don't need one side assimilation. You need both sides to move together.
And you don't really have to campaign for it.
No, you do.
It's just going to happen naturally.
Right. That's very true.
You may be here, from another country, and very clearly, I mean, it's just natural. Someone moves here, they're in their 40s or so, and maybe 30s, 40s, and they're not gonna. They want to go someplace where a lot of their compatriots are, and they don't want to have to learn how to speak English. I wouldn't want to have to learn to speak another. I tried to speak another language. I failed. That's why I never got a degree from the U of M, because I couldn't speak another language. But what happens is then their kids come along, and before you know it, they're playing Little League.
Yeah, well, that would ruin everything.
Well, that would ruin it.
There's no question. I mean,
it's just natural.
That whole deal. I just.
Well, you think kind of assimilating to the culture that you're in, or the country that you're in, is kind of a sign of respect too. Like if I went to another country, like if I went to a Middle Eastern country where the women were covered up, I would cover myself up just out of a sign of respect, because that's their culture.
Yeah.
And I think if people, like, I remember back in elementary school, I remember we did this full production in the gym. Everybody, it was a whole school effort. Everybody got tasked to take on a country. So you got to pick a country you wanted to represent. You had to dress up like that, and you had to say some facts about that country. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody wants to learn about other cultures.
No, they don't. You're right.
We're just told that you're not my culture. I should hate you.
So it's a good idea to embrace your culture as well as just, embrace another one too, because it doesn't have to be one or the other. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I also would cover myself up, but that's because of shame.
Yeah, it's a shame deal.
Well, and play the devil's advocate. Sometimes when you do that, then you're accused of trying to culturally appropriate their culture. Yeah, so it's like, what do I do here?
Well, I dated when I was 18 years old. I dated a girl a couple of times, and after about the third time going out to a movie or dinner or whatever we did, she invited me to come and pick her up at her house. Mm-hmm. So I went in and knocked on the door, and this older guy, turned out to be her father, answered the door and said, "Are you Tom?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I talked to some neighbors. I understand you're Roman Catholic." And I said, "Yes." And he closed the door in my face.
Oh, was he Lutheran?
Oh yeah, he was the,
For me, it was the opposite. I was in high school, and I was hanging out with the girl I really liked, and she came from a Catholic family.
Oh, okay.
And his father did allow me into the house, but I could see his arteries throbbing.
There you go.
And then he started shouting at me.
Why?
Because I think he felt like I was, maybe an atheist or something. I don't know. Well, worse, a Jew. And he made it clear he didn't want me hanging out with his daughter.
What? Oh, so it wasn't even a dating thing. It was just hanging out.
It was a little both,
A little both. Okay.
But it was high school. We didn't date. We just hung out. That was
right.
That was what it was like in those days. And, sometimes it went a little too far and sometimes it didn't go far enough. But the fact is, it was friendship first for the most part. But this guy, I mean, I think he was looking for the horns coming out of my head.
Ixnay on the Uj.
Yeah.
That deal.
When
Okay.
And I will say this, his dad got his way because she married a nice Catholic boy who lived down the street.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, and then he killed her. I thought you were going to throw that in, and he went the P Diddy route.
No. She became, like me, she was sort of overshadowed in high school by the merit scholars.
Oh God, yeah.
But she was very smart, and she wound up. She was a little different than most of the kids from my high school because she wound up being the CEO of a large corporation.
Really?
Yeah.
God, I should find out who that is.
Mm.
Give her a call. And Gelfand's available. So.
Well, she died young.
Oh God.
Yeah. Well, then my stories always end badly.
Your stories always end with somebody perishing at about 14 years old.
Oh no. I think
Jesus.
she was in her 50s, I think.
well,
50.
my grandmother, when she divorced her first husband, which is that whole finding out that I'm 25% Jewish thing.
Mhm.
Her first husband, who lied, saying he was a Catholic. When my grandma divorced him, she remarried my grandfather, who was Lutheran, and
Scandal.
her brother Russell wouldn't talk to my grandma for almost 50 years
What?
because of it. And then one night on Christmas Eve, he called and she sat up and talked to him till like 7 a.m.
Oh God.
And they kind of rekindled their relationship as brother. But yeah, he wouldn't talk to her because she married a non-Catholic.
Well,
Which Lutherans are just Catholic light. I don't
Yeah, kind of.
the question I would ask is, are we talking Missouri Synod?
Oh yeah.
'Cause
Well, I
then-
got that one.
Then I could see it.
Well, that's what happened to me in Missouri Synod.
Yeah.
I was dating Bonnie was her name, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
went to pick her up.
Yeah,
I was like
no.
16, 17 years old. And he said, I understand you're Roman Catholic. I said, yep. Well, we're Missouri Synod.
No,
Close the door.
that's weird.
That's 2 times I had the door shut in my face because
Because those Minnesota Lutherans, nicest people in the world. They really are.
are they?
Oh yeah.
I
Let me
grew
think.
up Lutheran.
Let me think this over.
I'm nice.
I'm nice.
Well, no, they're because
There
they're
you
actually they're not into they're not into covenants, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They're more into Jesus.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of them regard the Bible as being, something of a metaphor at sometimes.
Okay, why don't we approach that? Because I've often wondered, why isn't it okay to accept, I don't care if it's Buddha or Jesus or whomever,
Mm.
as long as you're not hurting anybody else? Why do people care so much about that?
And why do they care about your creation myth?
Exactly. Who cares?
It's religion, and it is all a metaphor.
Things happen to me, and once in a while, maybe it's because I grew up Catholic and all the rest of it, but something turns out really well, and I go, man, because you think first, do I deserve this?
Mm.
Hmm.
And why did this happen? And it's kind of a way of thinking about it, maybe not God, but a form of goodness.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I have said, and I still say it, if I at the age of say 17 was forced to go to church or a synagogue,
Yeah.
what would I do? And I probably would go with these Minnesota Lutherans.
You would.
Well, I certainly would do that before I would go into any sort of Orthodox.
Yeah, they're not so heavy-handed. You're right.
Not at all. No.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
about that.
back in the day when I was in the morning show, we were going really well. I would occasionally get asked to speak to various groups, and not as many as you, but sometimes. And so in 1 week, I had to speak to a group of Lutherans, like on a Tuesday, and then on Thursday I spoke to the Young Jewish Federation. Right.
Okay.
The Lutherans laughed at everything I said. A lot of them wanted me to meet their daughters.
Oh,
It was
very
that
sweet.
kind of thing. They loved me. And then the Jews, they just said, okay, you got to get out of here now.
Why?
Oh, they hated me.
Why?
Well, I said some things about Judaism and the fact that I felt like some of us were getting a little bit too much into this right-wing money thing, and they were into that right-wing money thing.
Mhm.
It was a select group. It wasn't really, it's just like, I mean, no religious sect, no, and you're talking about Jews in Minneapolis. They're not that many. So,
No, comparatively, that's true.
but the fact is they're able to belong to a community that is pretty much insular.
Yeah,
I
that
mean-
is true.
I mean,
And Lutherans have the best luncheons at church.
Oh, they do?
Oh God, the
Yeah.
casseroles just.
Well, I suppose, yeah, Lutherans with casseroles, that would be true.
I grew up in Bloomington. We had Emmaus Lutheran Church. That was a church I went to, and it was literally 2 blocks away from my house. So I was always over there just having fun. And yeah, all the church luncheons and things like that. Yeah, lots of food, lots of fruit salad, lots of tater tot casserole. But yeah, it was fun growing up in a Lutheran church. I just don't now, as being an adult, I don't really subscribe to organized religion, if that makes sense, because
No.
I feel like it's just a money grab at this point.
Well, there's a lot of money involved. That is true.
Well, you know what Lenny Bruce said? He said, every day people are leaving the church and going back to God.
Yeah, it feels like it's more of a business, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't. I have my own relationship with God, and I talk to him on a regular basis because I need help constantly. But
That's fine. But if he talks back, you've got a problem.
yeah, right.
That is true. And don't ever mention that God is a man in front of Catherine, because you'll get oh no. Like,
Well,
yes, dear.
Well, God is a concept.
A concept.
yeah, it's yeah. I honestly, he's probably just an alien at this point.
Okay, I just saw a headline. I have no idea what the hell this means. So I'm going to read the headline, and maybe you guys know something, and then I'll click on it to see what the story's about. You ready?
Huh?
Lady Gaga never denied she was a man because she didn't want to hurt anyone. Does that mean some people think she's a man, or is she actually a man?
Maybe she thought that if she were a man, she would hurt people.
And maybe that's
this
true.
This might indicate a phobia of hers.
Well,
Could
honestly, knowing Gaga, I actually really, really love Lady Gaga. She
Boy,
is
is very talented.
Yeah.
and she's really a humanitarian. I mean, she's just like, hey, just love everybody, I think what she's referring to in that, she doesn't want to justify the question, because why should she?
Yeah,
I
I understand that.
And I think if she feels like she has to give an answer, that she's taking a side, like she has to defend herself. If somebody asked that question, I'd be, it's none of your damn business.
I never thought she was a guy, though. Why would you think she's a
know.
guy?
I like her, but I think she's gone a little too far with this. That's all. That's all I'm saying. I still love the woman. She's great.
Yeah.
And but it's like the Orthodox Jews in my neighborhood, and I get to know some of them, not many, but some. And my neighbor across the street, he was a quote rabbi, and because they're all rabbis,
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we got to talking, and after I felt comfortable, he wanted me to go. I told you the story. He wanted me to go to the synagogue with him one night because it was Shemini Atzeret, which is when they finish reading the Torah. It takes a year, and then they start again. It's like painting the Golden Gate Bridge, right?
Right.
And I said, I tell you what, I think maybe you're taking this Torah thing a little too far. There's a lot of great books out there. I mean, I think you should expand your visions here. And he looked at me like I was crazy.
Why?
I just think, like, maybe try something else for a change. Read a little Kafka, okay?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga has always been a huge ally to the LGBTQ community, so huge that when people started saying she was actually a man, she refused to deny it. I don't think I'm ever going to be accused of being a woman.
No, I don't think we have to worry about that.
I don't think that's going to happen. You may recall she was asked about it in a 2011 interview, and she said, quote, "Why the hell am I going to waste my time, give a press release about whether or not I have a penis? My fans don't care, and neither do I." It just came up again on the Netflix show, What's Next? The Future with Bill Gates. The future is you're going to destroy everything you touch. Is that what the future is?
Pretty much.
And here's what she had to say. I thought, what about a kid who's being accused of that? What would they think? a public figure like me why would they think they should feel shame? I've been in situations where fixing a rumor was not in the best interest of the well-being of other people. In that case, I tried to be thought-provoking and disruptive in another way. I tried to use the misinformation to create another disruptive point. I don't understand one thing they just said.
It was a lot of big words.
I get what she's saying though, and I got to go with her on this one.
No, I agree. Who gives a rat? I'll say it again. The type of sex that you desire to have, as long as it's not, rape and obviously things like that, is pretty much your business, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll have to ask myself.
You're going to have to ask yourself, Gelfand, get busy.
Speaking of sex.
Send yourself an email.
I think, it's, I'm assuming at this point that, some women find me attractive, but no gay men do. So, I mean, even I would have leaned that way in my life, which I don't, but I don't think I would have been well accepted anyway.
I think gay men, they have gaydar, but they also have straightdar.
Straightdar?
And they can look at you and know.
Well, not if alcohol's involved, because Dave's over in England, and the gay men in England really, really like Dave, and he's had them serenade him. He was in Scotland one time, and this guy serenaded him with Otis Redding.
Sitting on the dock of the bay?
I'm not sure.
I would say take a little tenderness.
Try a little tenderness.
Yeah, but he was serenading Dave. He's like, hey, I got free drinks all night. And I'm like, all right.
Well, he's a charming man. Why not?
Very charming.
My wife used to serenade me.
She did?
Oh, yeah. She'd say, you're an asshole. Yes, you are.
Top order. No question.
And how could I deny it?
You're one of my best friends. You can't talk that way about my friends.
But it's just the same sort of thing. If I deny it, then I'm giving credence to the question.
Very good. Very good.
Those were just some bad days that we had.
Yes.
I'm not blaming her.
We got 1 minute left. Any closing arguments?
Just be kind to everyone. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. It's easy. Just smile and look at a stranger and say, I hope you have a wonderful day.
Even though I hate you.
Yes.
I'll do it.
I don't like your shirt.
Yes, I don't like your shirt. Thank you. Thank you very much. That is going to do it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
I want it.
Where's that music?
I don't. I'm
Come on.
Play. It's not
Come
working.
Come on, sister.
I can edit this out.
I can't leave until I hear the music.
Yeah, sorry.
Talk about OCD. There we go.
You got the music?
Yes. Now I can leave. Okay.
Got a picture in my pocket, reminds me of this rose before. Every time I hear the sing, reminds me how you talking.